Solar Bright Green Greg here, and today we're going to talk about the best home solar battery review. Enphase 5P versus Tesla Powerwall versus Franklin WH. And by the way, we're going to review both the Powerwall 2 and the Powerwall 3 versus these competitors. So Tesla Powerwall versus competitors. So Tesla Powerwall solar plus battery market share. Back in 2018, that was 59%. It has since gone down to 51%. So these competitors are starting to take market share, although the battery market is growing. So Tesla and other manufacturers are shipping more batteries, primarily because more people have time of use rates, or they want to be prepared for power outages during a hurricane or wildfire events, things like that. Now, I also try to find market share data for adding a battery to an existing solar system. Unfortunately, I could not find that market data. However, more and more people who already have solar are also adding batteries, and that's becoming a pretty significant share of the marketplace. So let's see and find out why Elon needs to be concerned about these competitors. So in this video, I will discuss Franklin WH versus Enphase 5P battery versus Tesla Powerwall 2 and also versus Powerwall 3. They are different, and I'll explain why. In this video, I'll discuss the specs and features, the cost comparison, and then I'll give you a conclusion, so that way you have some guidance on which battery might be suitable for you. And it's different for every home and every situation. So listen up. So first, let's talk about capacity. Think about capacity as how much the battery can hold, such as you have a big tank. That's how much that tank can hold. The Franklin WH, 13.6 kilowatt hours. The Enphase has 5 kilowatt hours. The Powerwalls have 13.5 kilowatt hours. So in this case, the Franklin can hold the most, and the Tesla Powerwalls are second, with the Enphase being the least amount of capacity. Now, normally a larger size capacity is better. However, I actually prefer Enphase's 5 kilowatt hour capacity. So let me tell you why a smaller capacity battery is better in this case. So when we're sizing up a home solar battery system, we don't know for sure exactly how much storage you need. It's hard. We're taking a guess. We don't know, for instance, how long power outages will last, or what things you might run, or how long you might run them, especially something like a heat pump or air conditioner. That's a big power-hungry unit. It's hard to know for sure exactly what size battery capacity you need. And let's just say in a case of Enphase, you get 2 batteries, 10 kilowatt hours of capacity. And after some experience, after say a year, you decide, oh, you know what, I want a little bit more capacity. Well, it's easier to add one 5 kilowatt hour capacity battery versus having to buy another battery which is 13.5 or 13.6 kilowatt hour capacity. That larger battery is going to cost tens of thousands of dollars more than just adding one more 5 kilowatt hour capacity battery. So you can more right size your home solar battery system with Enphase and add in smaller increments, which is less expensive versus getting a big battery. But it's a bit counterintuitive, but in this case, I prefer the smaller capacity building blocks. So now let's talk about peak power output. Think about peak power output as this. Again, you got this big tank, and peak is how much power can you pull out at once. Think about it as a straw. That's what peak power output is. Peak power output is important when you have something like a heat pump, an air conditioner, or a motor like a well pump. You need peak power output to get that motor going, and then the power needed goes down. So that's where peak power output is important. So in a case of Franklin, it has 10 kVA for 10 seconds. The Enphase has 6.14 kVA for 10 seconds. And by the way, to be fair, since it's a smaller capacity battery, we actually would use 3 batteries to compare. So actually be like 18.42 kVA for the Enphase. For the Tesla Powerwall 2, it's 7 kVA for 10 seconds. And they also mention 106 LRA. LRA, by the way, is a spec rating that's used on air conditioners, how much surge you need to get them moving. Now, on a Tesla Powerwall 3, they don't give a peak kVA rating, but they give 150 LRA. So it appears to be a higher peak power output. They just haven't published a number as of this date. So in this case, Enphase would be advantageous. Now let's talk about the continuous power output. This is how much you can run continuously out of your battery. With the Franklin, it's 5 kVA. With the Enphase, if you're using 3 batteries, it's 11.52 kVA. So that's more than double than Franklin. The Tesla Powerwall 2, it's 5 kVA real power. And they have 10 kVA peak. I don't know why they have that there. I don't know why they've got that number there, but I'm using the real power number. And the Tesla Powerwall 3, they got 11.5 kVA. So in this case, you know, either 3 Enphase batteries or the Tesla Powerwall 3 is the best for this spec. Now let's talk about dimensions. And here, by the way, I'm only going to talk about the battery because that's a large unit. There's also control units or gateways that go with these batteries, but those are usually small. We're more concerned about the size of the battery because they're large and where you can fit them in your garage or side of the house. And by the way, the more narrow the battery is in width, usually the more advantageous it is. It's easier to fit near a window or a corner or, you know, between a circuit panel and a meter, for instance. So the Franklin, it's 29.5 inches wide by 45.3 inches high and 11.4 inches deep. So it's a pretty good sized battery. It's not overly large. And 11.4 inches, that won't stick out too much from the garage wall. So that is a reasonable size for this capacity battery. The Enphase battery is 21.7 inches wide by 38.6 inches high and 7.4 inches deep. So this is a lot smaller battery, but of course also smaller capacity. And if we use 3 units, it'll be actually more space will be needed. Now the Tesla Powerwall 2 is 29.6 inches by 45.3 by 5.75 deep. So pretty similar to the Franklin. And the Tesla Powerwall 3 is 24 inches wide by 43.25 inches by 7.6 inches. If you're really restricted on space, the Tesla Powerwall 3 makes the best use of the space required. Now let's talk about mounting. So the Franklin, it's a floor mount. For the Enphase, it can be wall or they have a pedestal, and that pedestal can be bolted to the floor. So in case you don't have enough wall space, or in case, say for instance, it's a metal building, it's not a very strong wall, you can use the pedestal. So I think that's actually very convenient and nice. The power walls can be wall or floor. So it just depends on your situation. Hey, I hope you found this video helpful so far. Before we continue, before you forget, hey, please hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. This lets YouTube know that this content is helpful and shows it to more homeowners just like you, so I can also help them out. Okay, let's continue. So let's talk about battery chemistry. So a lot of the newer batteries are using lithium iron phosphate because it does not have the problem of what we call thermal runaway or overheating. And a lithium-ion battery can have thermal runaway and overheat. And when that happens, the battery will stop working and could possibly cause a fire. So in this case, The Franklin, the Enphase 5P, and the Powerwall 3 are all LFP batteries. Again, that's the preferred chemistry. The Powerwall 2 is a lithium-ion battery where, again, you could possibly have overheating, thermal runaway, and the battery could stop working and could possibly cause a fire. Again, rare, but it can happen. So for this case, I give all the batteries except for the Powerwall 2 a green circle. So let's talk about communication. So we actually prefer a wired connection in most cases because at a job site, sometimes you can't get a good signal, or say, for instance, the battery has to go on behind a wall, for instance. A wired connection is actually preferred and more reliable. So in this case, I've given the green circle to both Enphase as well as the Powerwall 2 and 3. It's not bad to have a wireless connection, but again, it's just a little bit less reliable in certain areas where you don't have a good reception. So next, we're going to talk about AC coupling versus DC coupling and new or add-on. And I'll explain this a bit more in a minute. The Franklin, the Enphase, and the Tesla Powerwall 2 are all AC coupled systems. The Powerwall 3 is a DC coupled system. The Franklin is suitable for both new and add-on, any brand it'll work with. The Enphase 5P is most suitable for the Enphase system. That's where you get most of the advantages, and so it's new or add-on for Enphase systems primarily. If you have Enphase inverters, the Enphase battery will work very nicely there. The Tesla Powerwall 2 is okay for both new and add-on systems. It will work with any brand. The Powerwall 3 is suitable only for new systems, and you're going to be using the Tesla system with that Powerwall 3. So let me explain this a bit more detail. So you see here in the top picture, this is for the Powerwall 2, the Enphase, and the Franklin. Again, AC coupled systems. And what that simply means is this. You see there in the top left corner, we have the solar panels. Solar panels produce power in DC. That DC power must be converted over to AC so it can run things in your home and or feed back to the utility company. For that, we need to have an inverter. The inverter does that conversion from DC to AC. Now, if we're adding a battery, that so-called battery, in this case the Powerwall 2 or these other Enphase or Franklin, that battery actually has an inverter inside of it because batteries are also DC. So anytime the battery is charged, the AC electric has to be converted over to DC to charge that battery. That's built into these systems, okay, a separate inverter. And then when you're running on battery, that DC power must be converted over to AC so your home can use it, okay? So these three systems, that conversion happens inside the same box that has the battery, okay? Now, in the lower picture here, we have the Powerwall 3, and this also goes for the SolarEdge Energy Hub and a few other brands. These are what we call DC coupled, and you have what we call a hybrid inverter. And all that simply means is, hey, in this case, the same box that holds that battery, it also holds an inverter that does conversion for both the battery and the solar panels. So you don't have to have a separate inverter. Now, the advantage of this is when you're doing a new system, because you don't have to have a separate inverter, it's lower cost. And also, it's a higher efficiency because you do less conversions from DC to AC and vice versa. So the Powerwall 3 has an advantage for efficiency and cost on new systems. However, there might be some other reasons, such as, hey, you're adding an existing system where the Powerwall 2, Enphase, or Franklin might be a better option. So again, it all depends on your particular situation. So again, Franklin is really good for both new and add-on. Enphase is good for new or add-on for you to have Enphase inverters. The Powerwall 2 is good for new or add-on, and the Powerwall 3 is really only good for new systems. And by the way, the reason why we say it's only good really for new systems is because if you try to add this to an existing system, it would require a lot of rewiring and so on, and it just wouldn't be worth the extra cost. So if you have an existing solar system, you would use one of these other 3 batteries and not the Powerwall 3. And by the way, this is one of the big misconceptions is, ordinarily a homeowner would think, oh, well, I want the Powerwall 3. That's the newest one, right? That's the replacement for the Powerwall 2. No, it is not. It is not a replacement. The Powerwall 3 is different. And so that is why Tesla is going to support both the Powerwall 2 and the Powerwall 3, just depending on what your particular needs are. So I want to make that very clear. So this is why if you get a solar quote, even on a new system, and they list Powerwall as an option for the battery, they might offer you the Powerwall 2. If you're doing an add-on, that's why they're going to offer you the Powerwall 2 and not the Powerwall 3. Okay, so I hope I clarified that. The Storm Watch, or Enphase calls it Storm Guard. So all these systems have that feature, and if there's a storm approaching 24 hours in advance, these batteries can automatically charge up, so that way when the storm happens, you have a fully charged battery. So that's an option with all these. It's simply a setting on your app. And so let's talk about the generator support. So the Franklin and Enphase both have integration of the generator on the app, and also you can charge the battery from your generator. The Tesla Powerwall does not. Now, you can still have a generator if you have a Powerwall, but you'd have a transfer switch for the generator, and it's either the battery and solar or the generator. You can't run both. And so let me explain the differences here. So let's say during the daytime, okay, the sun is shining, it's charging up your battery, and now the sun is set, and hey, you're running on self-consumption. Oops, now there's a power outage. Okay, well now your battery is running low and you don't want to listen to a generator all night long. Well, with Enphase and Franklin, you could actually charge your battery from the generator, and that way you can shut the generator off and run just your battery while you're trying to get a good night's sleep. Now, the other thing that could happen is in an extended power outage, if your battery gets below 2%, your solar system will not be able to charge your battery. Why is that? Because the inverters need a little bit of power to start generating electric from the solar. And so if you get below 2% with Enphase or Franklin, you can go ahead and use your generator to charge up your battery above that 2%, so then your solar can work again and charge up your batteries. Okay, that only happens if you run your battery below 2%. With Tesla Powerwall, you cannot do that. I don't know why, but they say very specifically in their data sheet that you cannot charge a Powerwall with the generator. So what you would have to do is wait till the utility company comes back up, and the utility company can charge up your battery above the 2%, so then you can have your solar charge your batteries again. So this might not be a big deal to most people, but if you're in an area where, hey, you might face really long and unknown power outages, and it's like really important to make sure you have power, like for instance, you have medical equipment, that sort of stuff, then the Enphase or Franklin would be an advantage over the Powerwall. So again, I would actually consider Franklin and Enphase an advantage for generator support. Now let's talk about warranty. For the warranty, Franklin is 12 years, the Enphase is 15 years or 6,000 cycles, the Tesla Powerwalls are 10 years. So I give a green circle to the Enphase. It has the longest warranty at 15 years. Most companies have a 10-year warranty, by the way. So let's talk about avoid main panel upgrade. So the main circuit panel, sometimes may not be able to support a large enough solar and battery system that you need to run the whole home. Especially if you have a very much older home, or if you had a home that has both electric and gas, and now you convert it over to totally electric home only. And sometimes even the electrical lines coming from the utility to the home need to be rerun because they weren't designed to run the whole home on all electric with a heat pump or air conditioner, for instance. In some situations, this could be a problem that could cost you, thousands and thousands of dollars. It's not cheap. So you just have to talk to your installer and see if this is an issue or not. The Franklin, you can add that feature in by getting a span panel. It's a smart circuit panel basically, but it does cost thousands of dollars. The Enphase does have this what we call PCS or power control system built into their controller, so you can avoid that main panel upgrade. And I got more about that on the Enphase video that I've done. The Tesla Powerwalls do not have this feature. So it just all depends if this feature is important to you or not. Some people it might be important, other people it might not be. So again, talk to your installer. Individual solar panel monitoring and optimization. And I'll get more into this in a little bit. So in the Franklin app, you will be able to tell what the total power output is of the solar panels and how much they're producing, but you won't be able to tell if some are not working, or you will not be able to optimize the solar system in the app. You will not be able to tell. Now in the Enphase, you can get the solar panel monitoring individually and the optimization on each panel, yes. The Powerwalls do not offer this feature. And so here's a sample of the Enphase app. So you'll see the left screen, that shows you the whole home energy management. How much is being pulled from the utility, how much coming from the battery, how much from the solar, etc. So you're able to manage all that from your app, including time of use, by the way. And the right screen here has the individual panel monitoring. And again, on most homes, there's between 20 to 40 solar panels. And sometimes customers get a high electric bill and go, geez, are all the solar panels working? Or did I just happen to use more electric that particular month? And it's hard to know because, first of all, of course, your electric use is going to be different in a hot month like July versus, say, October, which is a cooler month. And the other thing is the solar system also is going to produce a different amount of electric in a different month. Obviously, in the fall months or winter months, the solar can produce less electric. So it's important to have individual panel monitoring, or if you have some panels that might be partially shaded certain months or certain times of the day, it's peace of mind to have that individual panel monitoring. It's nice to have. And by the way, what I'm showing you here on the screen on the right, if some panels are dark, that may mean the panels are shaded or that there's a problem with that particular panel or microinverter. And if there is a problem, Enphase will automatically send an alert both to the homeowner and to the installer so you're aware of the problem and can fix it. So it'll do that proactively for you. So it's a very beautiful system in that way. There's some other advantages too I'll talk about in a bit, but this is individual panel monitoring and whole home energy management with Enphase. Okay, so next, monitoring includes other brands of EV chargers, generator, and solar. With Franklin, yes. With Enphase, generators of any brand, yes. Other items, Enphase only. With the Tesla Powerwalls, it will do EV charging management and Tesla solar and battery only. Okay, so Franklin is very much better if you're mixing different brands. If you have Enphase inverters and you plan on getting an Enphase, battery and charger, then Enphase is the way to go there to have everything in one app. And here's the Enphase management system. I've already showed you the app, but you manage the solar, the generator, the utility use, the Enphase battery, and the EV charging. All that is managed in just one app. And I just think it's a lot easier and a lot less hassle to have everything in one app. So now let's talk about load shedding. And I'll talk about what that means in a moment. But Franklin and Enphase both have load shedding. Tesla Powerwall 2 and 3 do not have this option. So let me explain. And so you're running your whole home on solar and your battery. And you don't know how long that power outage is going to last, right? IQ load controller, or shedding, you can turn off non-essential items, things like a pool pump or an electric vehicle. And you can manage all this from the app with Enphase or Franklin. So let's say like it's the middle of the night, you don't have to get out of bed, go down to the garage or wherever the circuit panel is and manually try to find these different breakers and try to shut them off. That's a big hassle, right? So with Enphase as well as the Franklin, you can manage all this from your app. Next, let's talk about cost. Now, by the way, I did not use specific dollar numbers here because, of course, prices are always changing. Just to give you a general idea, the Franklin more than likely is going to be a lower cost unit and give you a little bit more bang for the buck. The Tesla Powerwall 2 will be second, and the Powerwall 3 for a new system because the Powerwall 3 you don't have to buy a separate solar inverter. And then the Enphase 5P battery, it's going to cost more, and with the microinverters, for a new system, it's going to be a more pricier option. So let me give you a little bit of guidance here to kind of help you out. And again, you'll still have to get consulting from a solar installer, but at least you have some ideas now on what to look for. So the Enphase 5P battery, if you have Enphase inverters, you have many roof faces, or the roof might be shaded part of the day or in winter months, this battery is a good choice. You get the best integrations in one app. It will cost more per kilowatt capacity, but it also has the best warranty of 15 years, right? So you kind of get what you pay for. But the Enphase 5P is the premium battery here. The Franklin WH is most likely going to be a lower cost unit versus the Powerwall 2 or the Enphase. It's more flexible with other brands of equipment in one app. You can manage everything. The Powerwall 2 is a lower cost alternative to the Enphase 5P, and it can work with most other brands of solar inverters, and you could use as an add-on to existing solar systems, but it doesn't integrate other brands of equipment into one app. The Powerwall 3 would be a good choice for new solar systems only, and it's probably a lower cost than some other systems that would require a battery plus a solar inverter. So consult your solar installer, let them look at your site and what your priorities and concerns are, and then from there you can make the best choice. So Solar by Green Greg here. I hope you found this video helpful. On this channel we do home solar PV and battery, solar pool heating, and energy efficiency. And I do it all without any sales talk or clickbait. Hey, I'm a homeowner just like you. I know how it is. Sometimes you're just trying to do some light troubleshooting or get information, right? You don't want clickbait. You don't want sales talk. If that's you, you just want information, hey, you're in the right spot. Go ahead, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you in the next video.